Hi, I'm Zoe.
And I'm Sam, and welcome to our spooky Halloween episode.
Halloween just got awesome, witches.
Ooh. So beneath this roof, there is always water and shade.
So in this week's episode, it's Halloween, so we're looking at the worst and the best villains and antagonists from the Wheel of Time series. But before we do that, there's been a lot of exciting news on the TV front this week. So we're going to take a quick look at that first.
You ready?
No.
Me either.
So it was a big week.
It was. We had so many things thrown at us. And then, we're getting some pictures. We're getting some, huge drama about the size of Rand's bow for a non-contextual picture. And people not realizing that it's really cold up in Shinar. So calm down.
It is. Give this guy a break.
I know. He's doing his very, very best. And it's hard to have a really big bow when you've got a pretty girl looking at you.
And everyone, all those cameras on him as well. I just kind of feel like, you put a lot of pressure. He's a young guy. Give him a break. His bow might do just fine in the show.
Yes, but I did love the kind of aesthetics that we were getting. The Shinar banners. It's obvious where they are. Nobody's gonna be oh yeah, it's a hawk banner. I think they're probably in Keeneland. But the costumes look great. The set looks great. The Shinar banners look great. Their little top knots and man buns look great.
Is it already a top knot or is it a man bun?
On the white guy, it's a man bun.
Yes. We've been waiting for that first kind of visual of what Wheel of Time is going to look like in terms of the symbols that they're going to use, the marketing materials, the branding. That was our first look at that. It was the first time we've seen it. And they fucked up. And they fucked up hard. And I can't help but get the feeling that it was very rushed and put together. And that leaves me with the big question of why was it rushed?
Because knowing the way the trajectory of everything is going right now, 90% sure it was to soften the blow when they say, oh, hey, sorry guys, we can't continue filming because of our dear mistress Corona. So bye. Here's something to remember us by that you can, fap to you later, I guess.
Keep you warm through winter.
Yeah. And but they might also just be done. I mean, if they're in Shinar and they're doing things in order, they might be done, and they might be, calling it a wrap on season 1 and we're good and they'll just be in post-production and whatnot. But I kind of think just, I feel like they're going to give us some bad news soon, and this is a way to soften the blow a little bit.
I feel like you are right in the sense that it could be a case that they are done. I think the one thing about the audio that we noticed is that the background is quite different from the voice track as well. So it seems like it's very much two pieces that have been pieced together. And what we've got in the background is a bit choppy because we can hear that woman's scream come over on a loop. Mm-hmm. So that says to us that they are chopping up sound bites at the moment, which pretty much confirms that they are in the process of making a trailer. So yeah, we're taking away from it that the audio is probably a little bit rushed out. It might be to distract, or maybe it's to sort of soften the blow for everything being shut down. But definitely, I think we can confidently say that if they have those sound clips to hand, they're probably cutting for a trailer. And I have really got my fingers crossed that we're going to see a trailer by Christmas. Because that would be
get a diaper because I'm going to pee myself.
Yes. And as interesting as the TV news is, it's not as fascinating as our costumes today for Halloween because, you know, we look fantastic. So, Sam, tell us about your costume.
I wanted to symbolize the suffragette movement. I can't find my suffragette scarf, so I'm basically a Titanic passenger who died and ended up in Hinderstep. And I'm stuck in a loop, going back to 1910 over and over until the end of time. Welcome to America.
No thanks. It's bad enough over here.
And I love your two-faced Phantom of the Opera type of realness. What's going on here?
Well, I thought I would be Blackajar because, you know, the Blackajar, they don't sort of openly say that they're Blackajar. They'll very much be, hello, I'm of the Yellow Ajar. I heal people. I kill people. I must look slay as you. So yeah,
yes.
I was going for a Blackajar kind of theme, but I had a very limited short window in which to do it because I am a mum of a toddler who decided to get into some blue paint today, and yes, we made a big mess first, but it's okay. I'm just going to be a very, very happy Blackajar lady who also hides.
You can serve the dark one and be happy. No one says you can't.
I know. Who made these rules? Why not? I mean, if you're doing what you love, you're happy anyway.
Yes, we sure are.
Okay, so it's Halloween. We are going to look at the top 5 villains for the Wheel of Time, and also the bottom 5 villains for the Wheel of Time. So we're going to start with the worst of the worst, the bunch of guys who just, you suck, get out, we don't want to know you. And then we're going to look at the great guys. And then afterwards, we're going to take to our Patreon page, which you can find in the link below in the bio. And on there will be bonus footage of us just examining the Forsaken and just giving them a good read as well.
This is how I read people.
Gonna read the Forsaken.
We're gonna stick it in and poke it around a little and see what's what. Because that's what villains do.
So, worst villains versus best villains. Let's start with the worst because it's always fun to kind of like start with everything that's really fucking wrong and terrible and just read it to filth. And that's what I want to do. Happy Halloween.
Woo!
So,
all right.
we're going to go with the top 5 worst villains. Now, we have like considered this ourselves. We've also listened to sort of like outside villains. We kind of put it in our stories on Twitter or on Instagram, and we said, you know, who's the worst?
Who's the
Who do you hate? Why do you hate them? Let's take away what we've taken away, and this is our top 5. This is what we've come down to. So, coming in at number 5,
Machin Shin, which don't fight me on this because we have opinions on this because Machin Shin and Mashadar are really creepy. We get it. Like, they're creepy.
Yeah.
It's really scary to be in this spooky area and hear like a Golem voice coming out and like, I'm gonna get you. And so my opinions on this. First of all, Michael Kramer in the audiobook does such a good job doing Machin Shin. Like, it's like so creepy and you get that like great Golem voice. It sounds like Golem, shut up, it's fine. And then, but when I was rereading and when they're in Shadow Logos, I was reading and I was like, I feel like Mashadar is just like the draft 1 version of Machin Shin. Like, they should have cut one or the other because it's so similar and it's so like, it's the same thing, just differently packaged.
Yeah.
That
Mm-hmm.
it's like you need it in both places, don't get me wrong, but you should like pick one and go with it and call it the same thing. Because the first time around I thought they were the same thing. So
yeah, I remember like reading it for the first time and being like, okay, so what's the difference between
creepy
these
black
2
mist like coming at you, and
they are exactly the same. and it's very you've got these two completely mindless entities that are just kind of gonna like swallow up your soul. Yes, it's creepy. Yes, it's creepy. But beyond that, it doesn't have a lot of depth. It doesn't they might translate on the TV screen totally different. They might be like really, really horrific. But in the books, it's like there is a limitation to how far you can take something that is mindless. I feel like if you're not drawing out some kind of emotion, then you don't have a very strong case to be a villain.
You know what they remind me of? They remind me of in Doctor Who, Silence in the Library, when the Vashta Nerada, when they're like, you know, they're in the library and they're in the shadows, and it's like, oh, that's creepy. But what really made it creepy was when it attacked the people. And the people were like dead and they were like ghosting, like that was creepy, and that was what made it like really scary. So I think making that human element, so I don't know, trying to keep the waist straight.
Yeah.
Mr. Golden.
Okay. Yeah, and he's kind of, he's not as an independently free thinker as some other villains are. He is completely and totally being pushed by someone who's a lot worse behind him to be something else. So it kind of doesn't offer a massive amount of depth in terms of evilness. But I remember a few times feeling a little bit of sympathy for him as well, because, you know, it's like his whole life he's known this story and it's supposed to be one of his people, and he doesn't see Rand in that way as one of his people, and he sees Rand as someone who is very much going to destroy his people. So it's one of those ones where it's like, if you look at it from another way, from another perspective, is he really a bad guy, or is he just misunderstood? And I'm not a big fan of villains being misunderstood. Like, just be a bad guy and let me see you be a bad guy.
Or be an anti-hero, and he's neither.
Yeah, he doesn't come in at either, so he's just kind of like, wah, wah.
Just not a great villain.
Okay, I feel personally attacked by your choice of number 3, but I'm gonna allow it. I'm gonna allow it simply because I got to pick the number 1 best villain. So yeah, if you would like to take the floor on this one, I'm just gonna sit here crossing my arms under my bosom.
The third useless villain in Wheel of Time is the collective Black Aja and all the Dreadlords, because I can see so hard why they're based. So I'm not talking like the specific Black sisters and, you know, Dreadlords and whatnot that are actually really well-rounded and interesting. I'm talking about like the Black Aja NPCs that are just running around being useless, and I can see why the Forsaken hate them, because they're useless. They are bumbling idiots who don't know how to do anything.
It's like when, you know, you ask someone to do something for you, but they just don't do it the way that you want them to do it, and then you just get really, really frustrated, and you're just like, oh, okay, fine, I'm just going to do it myself because I can literally bang this out in 30 seconds, and I don't understand why you are struggling so much to just do this one simple
better
task. Yeah, like, come on, you want to be a bad guy? If you want to be, it's like, it's all well and good, like, yeah, I want to be bad, yeah, then be bad, you know. Don't dream it, be it.
It just takes some more training that people don't want to give. Anyway,
that's the problem. These Aes Sedai these days, I mean, none of them have any idea.
Back in my day.
Number two.
Number 2.
I would argue that number 2 could have been number 1, but I'm gonna go with, okay, you know, I understand why she is just missing the boat on being the worst, because she did have some good qualities, But overall, Savannah was a huge disappointment as a villain. Like, she started out so brilliantly, and I could she had all these plans, and I was like, oh, if she could just get some of those, like, it would just be so good. But
you start in the beginning, and she's so driven and interesting, and she just fell flat, which is weird because apparently in Wheel of Time they measure a person's evilness by the size of their cleavage. Like, that's not fair. Yes, you'd be Shaitan's grandmother. I love it. But yeah, like, the more boobs you show, the worse you are, which is kind of silly. But I also think that
last a day.
she has the parts of, like, Grandal that I like, and she's kind of like Grandal Factory Seconds. So that's kind of how she is. So she had great potential. If she had followed through on her great potential, she would have been,
even if she had just followed through on one thing, just give me one thing. It really felt like Robert Jordan had this plan for her, but then forgot about her, and then kind of had to just round off the arc at the end to make another part of the story that to him was far more interesting, so that he could continue with that and just forget about the Savannah thing. It's
And the worst of our useless villains.
Number one of the worst villains is, drum roll, I need a drum. It is, of course, the crazy ex-girlfriend, Lanfear. Why did we pick Lanfear as the worst?
Because she is the worst.
She is such a bad example to women everywhere. Like, no, this is like, if I had a daughter, I would be like, this is everything you don't become. Like, do not become this. She was incredibly powerful, incredibly smart. She could have literally done anything she wanted to if she wasn't so distracted by boys.
This is why you don't need a boyfriend, you need a vibrator. There were so many Terangrial in the Age of Legends. I don't understand why she was so obsessed with one guy.
There is literally a list of, like, Terangrial that are listed as unknown purposes. We know what that meant, Robert Jordan. We know what that was code for. And I'm sorry, but Lanfear, you needed to get yourself to the stores and get yourself one of those Terangrial and forget about that no good loose Baron Telemon. It was just ridiculous. It was outrageous. And of course, he chose the, like, mindless Ileana Sunhair. That's what she was called, because that basically,
she has nothing else.
Yes, she had a head full of air, and she had nice pretty hair, so we'll just comment on her pretty hair, because that was her one redeeming factor. Lanfear, you were so much better. You were worth so much more. Why couldn't you just see that? And then, spoilers, she gets her, like, pretty little neck snapped by Perrin at the end because she was just so pathetic. No. Ladies everywhere, this is not how you behave.
Be a better villain.
Know your worth. Yeah, know your worth. Don't take that shit. Like, you should be looking at yourself like, yes, Susan, you messed up, but look at you now. You didn't end up like that. Everything's great. I may be a little bit triggered by this, but yeah, Lanfear, I remember when we met Lanfear and I loved her so much, and then, like, it just kind of went to the point where I was just like, no.
Have fun, you awful, awful little woman. Okay.
So, now that the worst are out the way, let's look at the best villains. The villains that we actually
really
hate. Coming in at number 5 is the Golem. These guys are what you need cheat codes for to defeat.
Yes.
Like you're not getting past to the next level without the cheat codes, because these guys are so powerful and so messed up that the Forsaken were like, do you know what? We're only going to make 5 of these because otherwise we might find
That's
ourselves
a little
in
excessive.
danger.
That's a little evil even for us.
Yeah, it's like if the Forsaken are like, oh, no, let's just stop there, then that's a bad guy. Like,
yes.
So they only have like 5 of these guys, and these guys are designed to kill channelers. They cannot be killed by the power. They cannot be killed by weapons, ordinary weapons. They cannot be harmed very easily. They can heal themselves very, very quickly. They can find their way into anywhere, and you might not even see them, and then they're just behind you, slitting your throat, and that's it. You're done.
That's what
they
happened
are
to me.
so yeah. Yeah, it looks like it. Don't turn around. So they are just so effective at what they do, and that's what makes them a really great villain, because they're highly effective. They are feared by the bad guys, and they are creepy as well. Like, they are creepy. It's very creepy. The idea of something that can get into a closed room, yeah, it's a scary thing. Yes.
And they do, I know that they're kind of that mindless, like, just creepiness, which is why they're not number 1. They're creepier than other options, but because they can kind of sneak in and do their thing. And they also kind of have a little bit of an element of the gray man, which isn't on the list just because they're so ordinary. Like, they're not even cool like ninjas. They're just kind of like there. But they
ordinary ninjas.
Ordinary ninjas are supposed to look ordinary. If you see some dude dressed in black, it's gonna be like, oh, there's a dude coming to kill us. It's not gonna be like, dressing like a normal person and you come up and kill somebody. That's not how ninjas work. We're all ninjas now since we wear our face masks.
Anyway, they're good at what they are good at what they do. They are very effective, and you can't help but there were more of these guys that they could have led the Shadow. Like, they could have taken down the Forsaken, and they could have been very much in charge if there was more of them, and if they were a little bit smarter as well. That's the thing that kind of stops them
that
from
keeps
being
you down.
like,
you got just enough smarts. We could make that argument for some of the others too.
Now you picked this one. You had some like strong feelings about these guys.
I did, and this is a hard one because most people don't think of them, partially because they come in really late. Like, spoilers for later books. Like, you don't know that these exist until the very end. But I said the Sama and Sai, who are the Aiel channeling men who were, sent off to the Blight to go spit in Sightblinder's eye and got turned bad. And it just like really got me, because you think of like all those people who have been sent for this glorious cause, like, hey, I'm gonna go do the right thing, and then they get fucked up and they come back and they look like what they're supposed to look like and they sound like what they're supposed to look like, but they're not right. And so that really got to me. They got turned, and that one had very like deep resonances, and I think that it's just, they're not villains, but they're baddies, they're enemies, but they're also really tragic, and that's what makes them really compelling. And I really wish they could have gone into more of that. So yeah, write some fan fiction, guys.
I always felt like one of the really great things, it was so much them themselves, but I always kind of felt like when they have like such a short moment where they're sort of mentioned and they kind of have like one scene and then there's not really a lot else for them. But I always kind of remember when I read that going, oh, they fucked up. They fucked up.
Yeah.
And just like having to put the book down and going, oh.
And you
just
think,
like,
and these are kids. These are, you know, you find out you can channel when you're 18 or 19, you know, and they're like, sorry, we're going to send you off. These are kids. This is the great war.
And this you know, the Aiel people, they are very much like, you know, we fight against the Dark One, we spit in the Dark One's eye. That's kind of like our whole motto, and everything we do is like for the good of defeating the dark and winning for the light. And we made this choice that if we get these guys, we're gonna, you know, send them off to go and spit at the Dark One, and they will go out in this blaze of glory. And instead, no, you were actually giving the Dark One more weapons. He took these weapons and he made these weapons stronger, and he made them a hell of a lot more. And you know what? He's sitting there going, thanks, Aiel. I really appreciate your help in helping me defeat the light. And it's like, oh, imagine if you're the person that like decided this is how we're gonna do it, and it fucked up that bad. Yeah. That and it brings this tiny little scene, this tiny little mention of these people. It brings such an emotion, such an array of emotions, that I think it's kind of hard to say that they're not in the top 5 of the villains in the Wheel of Time, even though you might argue over the term villains, but they are definitely up there on the side of the shadow.
Yeah,
as it were.
And creepy and heartbreaking, which makes a really good villain, is when you care about them. Number 3
of the best villains in the Wheel of Time, and it's, well, my favorite Ashman, because he's a hot boy. It's Mazrim Taim.
What?
He is like, okay, first of all, he's on this list because he is hot. And like, by hot, I mean like he is like the real purpose for like a fan, just to like cool down. Because I certainly hope that they get him this hot in the TV show, because if they ends up being this guy that I'm like really not attracted to, it's gonna be really disappointing for me, because I always imagined him as this like really like sexy Asian
charismatic
dude, like he's fine. But yeah, so that's one reason. But also he's so effective. In fact, you might argue that he is probably one of the most successful of the Forsaken when he gets that title in the end.
Why would like he rose up through the ranks in like one human lifetime of like, let's say like 30 years of dark friendness. And I mean, you have like fucking Asmodeon over there like, well, I'm just gonna play my banjo. Like
like, how did I end up here? I don't know where I am. Oh shit, they're gonna kill me if I leave. Yeah, I'm one of you guys. How's it going? Yeah.
He's Clerks.
I'm not even supposed to be here today.
So yeah, he rose up through the ranks fast, which tells you pretty quickly like he's committed. Everybody else took like a full, you know, couple thousand years to get where they are, and this guy's just like, word. Hey, I'm here. Let's do this. And they're like, oh, I like this young upstart. Let's do it. So, but he also made, sorry, Ren, he made the Black Tower. Like, he made it.
Yeah,
and he's awful.
As much as Rand wants to sit there and be like, oh, you know, it's my Black Tower, they're my Asherman, it's like, no, you abandoned that Black Tower. You didn't give a shit about those guys. Mazrim Taim might be a bad guy, but he gave a shit about those guys, and he delivered a lot of weapons.
Yeah, you said make me weapons, and he did. And oh man, did those something about like sweet innocent kids sent to war and blowing shit up is okay. It's
very real world, so you're able to connect that emotion to it. And when you're able to connect an emotion to a villain, it's or an emotion to what a villain does. That
Yes.
is what makes a really successful villain. And Master of Time, he was able to deliver for the light, but he managed to manipulate so much towards the shadow. And the thing is, as well, Rand knew better. Like, he's got like Luthor's voice in his head saying, "No, this guy's a bad guy. Like, stop it, stop it, stop it." And Rand's just like, "Nah,
It's fine.
It's fine. Everything's fine." You know, it's like he was so good at convincing him that he was really on his side, that Rand was like, "Yeah, I completely trust you and leave you with it. No problem." He had better choices and he didn't make them. And you have to look at Mazrim Taim and say, well, then you were really effective at what you were doing, that you were able to convince the dragon and the dragon in this guy's head that, you know,
his little dragon.
I can turn my back and just, the dragon and the little dragon, that it's fine. It's fine. Yeah, he was good at what he did. He was effective. And he's hot, which is bonus for a villain. If
That's the most important.
Yeah.
You can be useless, but if you're hot, whatever. I mean, that's Hollywood for you.
We're moving on to number 2. So the second best villain, and Deej, one of the community members over at Weaves of the Will, who happens to make the music for us, he is going to love, actually no, he's going to be mad as hell that we put her at number 2. It's, of course, Galena.
So
Red Archer as a whole, even with being like, there being a lot of good guys in the Red Archer overall are very effective as villains. Like, I feel like you hate the Red Archer more than you do hate the Black Ajah.
But you hate
which
them
says a lot.
for the same reason that you like kind of hate the Shan-Chan, and you kind of hate, like, you know, it's because they're antagonists. They're not villains, they're antagonists. So they put the friction on the plot, but they also have so many Black Aja members. Like, is it just the red and black just go really well together? I mean,
yes, this is true.
Oh, I actually have all of my Ajas right now. I'm a little bit white. I'm a little bit red. I'm a little bit dead.
Okay,
what were we talking about?
We were talking about Galena.
Oh yeah, Galena. Oh, she's the only person who could make me actually care about Rand.
Which says a lot, because you really hate Rand.
I really hate Rand. Like,
it says something about how good Galena is as a villain, that she got you to like and feel sorry for a character that you hate. Not just a character that you hate, but a character type that you don't really respond very well to.
Yes. Torturing our baby. So it gets me in my heart for the same reason that the Salmansai get me, and like the, you know, everybody else, like the little baby Ashaman. Oh, like it makes you like really sad, and you're like, don't touch my baby. So the fact that she like beats the shit out of Rand for like no reason. Spoilers, by the way, don't watch this show if you don't like spoilers. We don't.
Yeah,
we're bad at it.
We're not very good at it.
Beats the shit out of Rand just for the sake of beating the shit out of Rand.
Just because she can, like, she has him in a situation where he's powerless, and she takes advantage of that.
You're a channeler and I'm a red and I hate channelers. She doesn't talk like that. Yeah, but you get it.
She might talk like that. You don't know how she talks.
Savannah talks like that, and all the other ones do that. I want to be like you, but I don't want to be you. You're not my mom, but I want you to be my mom.
She's very single-minded. She's very effective at what she does.
Yes.
Right up until the point where she gets captured. It's very much rumored that Galena was like the head of the Black Ajah. And she, you know, she was not just this Red Arja antagonist that you dislike, but she was also of the Black Ajah, so she was a straight up villain. Yeah, and in that, you know, what she was doing was because she was a straight up evil bitch. And so many of these like black sisters as well were just like, okay, I'm off the blacker job, but I'm gonna be like really sweet and really nice so you don't suspect me. And Galena was like, no, fuck a bitch. I'm gonna be what I am. I'm not gonna try and pretend to be something I'm not. She was very like, it was like she had no shame in the fact that she was evil, and she was okay. And she sort of, you know, wore it like a little badge of honor, like pride. She was just really, she was who she was, and no one could ever take that away from her. And even when she was captured, it's so funny because there was, I went through this period with Galena where I was like, I was like so glad that she was captured, and I was just enjoying what was happening to her so much. Like, yeah, karma, it's come back around. It's so great. And then I got to a place where I almost kind of wanted her to get her revenge, and I was really just like a little bit rooted.
She'd do a good one, like letting her kind of go like, off on the ones who wronged her.
Yeah, I was like, okay, I really just want Galena to, I really want her to succeed now. I just want to see what will happen, like if you just kind of throw that into the pot. And it's really sad that she didn't get that moment. I just felt like she really deserved that moment in the end. Yes, I would have loved that for her. It's all come down to this. This is the #1 best villain in the Wheel of Time, and we pretty much were unanimous on this, but I definitely kind of pushed for this to be #1. It is, of course, Lidar. And some might argue that Lidar is more of an antagonist than a villain, but a lot of what she does is very villainous. So therefore, it's right that she makes it onto this list. And the best thing about Lidar, the reason she is so good, so effective as a villain, is because she genuinely isn't a bad person. Like she's a bad person, but she's doing it for the greater good to be the bad person. She genuinely isn't fighting for the side of the shadow. She's not on the dark one side. She's very much fighting for the light and what she thinks is right. And everything that she does, she is so fully justified that this is the right course of action to take to save the world. So that's what makes her so good as a villain, because you're just like, there's no reasoning with that. There's no reasoning with a person who genuinely has such a singular focus on one goal, and they are so convinced that everything they do to get to that goal is right and cannot be wrong.
That's the exact reason that we really like, I don't know, I really like the Shan-Chan. I really like the Shaido. Like, I really appreciate them because they're not fighting for the shadow. I mean, you got your random people who do, but they really do think that they're doing the right thing and that they're on the right side. And everybody feels that way when you're on a side and you're like, hey, here's this problem, this is how we're solving it. If people are buying into that, there's a reason for that. Like, they're saying, I need to be a part of this cause, and, you know, channelers are evil, so we need to collar them. Like, or the white cloaks, like, they're great. Why didn't we put white cloaks on this? They're pretty good too. But like that, like, get in, love the flexibility of moral dubiousness, Barbara. Like, it's fantastic.
Yeah,
that's why you like them, because they're gray.
And they are real world. Because let's be honest, in the real world, there's no good and evil. Everything in the real world is gray, and you have two groups, and both groups think they are right. And you know, sometimes people might do messed up things to get to their cause, and some people might think, oh, I could never do something like that. And it is all just a matter of perspective.
And who has the bigger propaganda machine?
Yeah, it's so real. It's so relatable, and therefore you can put so much emotion into the events around this character that you can truly connect to. You can truly see it come to life, and
she was very well rounded. Like, she had a character. It wasn't like, oh, here's this, you know, the boobs and the evil. It was just like, she had a backstory, she had a family, she had
so much depth.
She had a history. She, you know, was close with Elaine's family. Like, it was.
That's very much the case. She is such a real world villain, and that is why she is brilliant, and arguably not just in The Wheel of Time, but she is one of the better villains across most major series, is because of the fact that she's not actually evil. She's just single focus. She's just got a single focus. She thinks she's right, and she is willing to do whatever it takes to make sure that her way is carried through. And that's it.
Yes.
And there's no reasoning with that. There's no reasoning with a person like that. And that's even more terrifying, because what can you do?
Yeah. Well, and you feel a little bit bad for her too. Like, with Alviar and just being manipulated. No, like I did though, because it's like she's trying to do the right thing, and you know, she's getting messed up the same as everybody else. Everybody else is getting manipulated by, you know, dark friends and whatnot, and she's doing her best. And so you're like, oh, I hate you, but I kind of feel bad for you because this lady's awful.
Yeah.
And you're getting, you know, and then in the end it was just very vindictive, and I'm like, all right, you got what was coming. But I also I wanted them to have a debate. Like, I would have watched a debate in the hall about that. Like, what do we do with her?
Yeah, I felt really disappointed that we didn't get a Lidar come back at the end with the Sean Chan. I really would have liked that. I felt like a little bit of her story is left unfinished. I didn't feel as satisfied right at the end. Like, when I was reading, I was just waiting to see her there and just see what she had become.
But yeah, it's just like she just kind of gets pulled away, and you're like, okay, bye. That was fun. You were really good for 6 books. Like, so yeah, Elida's way up there. She might be trying to make the tower great again, but she's doing her best. Like, she's trying.
She's doing her best, and she is someone we all love to hate. Like, we all love to hate, and I don't think anyone would argue her being at the top or close to the top of the worst, because at the end of the day, I don't think anyone is sitting there like, oh, I really liked Elida, yeah, or feels indifferent towards her. Everyone feels something.
You feel something. She could be on the best or the worst, but she's on your list somewhere, because we're gonna have to read through all of the villains and all of the baddies. So
outtakes, I mean, yes, we'll put some like outtakes up on our Patreon page, so if you want to see some of our thoughts on the other villains in what and sort of where we would place them, are they good villains, are they bad villains, are they successful villains, we will have a whole bunch of outtakes available on there. So please go and support us, and every little bit of support helps us develop these videos more and make better content and buy mics and ring lights, and I'd like a nice green screen.
Thank you. Yes. So you tried and you failed. Be better.
Yeah, I'm not even going to bake you an at least you tried cake, because you don't deserve an at least you tried cake. You just suck.
You can go eat the dick you're chasing.
Yeah. Yes.